And it would also show that what Lamp is doing is not hurting that tree, but when they come and rip it down, that does. Because they're not being gentle about it. Hey guys, have another taco. I'm Joseph. It is wet out here, so I am hiding underneath the overhang of the building. I have an umbrella set up, and I'm gonna plunk you guys into the... Oh geez, I did that thing again. I'm upside down. Fix it. Come on, you can fix it. There we go. Sorry, guys. Oh, one of these days I will hold the camera the right direction. All right. So I'm late again. I was out here on time, but we were talking about wanting to get a camera on Antifa over there so that it's always being watched, and it'll actually show what is happening to our tree, and also what's not happening to our tree, because we want to get that tree, you know, recognized as a historic tree, so they don't like come and just simply remove the tree to keep us from decorating it or something stupid like that. So I'm sorry I'm late. Everybody wanted my attention all at the same time. That's fine, but I was trying to be on time for a change. The best laid plans of mice and albinos or something like that. Anyway. There we go.
I don't know. I tried to bring up the tree thing here multiple times.
I think it's a good idea. I actually think it's a really good idea. Okay, I'm already full bright. But anyway, yeah, it's soggy. And since there's just a couple of us out here, including, of course, Puppy Cam. Puppy Cam. Puppy Cam. Who's a good puppy? Yeah, so there's only a few of us out here, so now tonight is really a good time for our topic. And I kind of said something about what I thought about it last night, because I was saying that I don't think that the Republican Party is a legitimate political entity anymore. But before we get into that, let me catch up on chat. Yes, I'm doing a little better. I'm still coughing. I'm actually coughing more, which is making my throat very sore. But Puppy Cam Woofy. Antifa has been through a lot. I mean, decorating the tree, we've been very careful to make sure that decorating the tree hurts it in no way, but when they come through and decide to undecorate the tree, they aren't gentle about it. So yeah, the thing really has been through a fair bit. The chemotherapy, what it does is screw with my immune system quite a bit. I do get, if I get sick, A cold is not dangerous, but it lasts a hell of a lot longer, and it hits a hell of a lot harder. I mean, it's something that's done for most people in 2 or 3 days. I've got it for a week, and I feel like utter dog crap for the whole time and then some. And then I lose all of my stamina. Anything that I was doing, anything that I was, able to do before, like walking down here, just walking down here, I could not do it without using an inhaler. And I mean, when I started doing that, that was the case, but I've been doing that for, months now. Because I do it, 5 days a week, so it's no problem. But out for a week like that and sick, I can't do it anymore. So it is a little wet. I don't need a battery yet, but I don't have one attached, so I'm going to go grab it real quick. Be right back. I stepped into the rain for a second. I'm already just like that. So anyway, I decided that I wasn't going to pull out the table because I don't have a convenient place to put it. I believe.
I know, she was really like, no. I know.
Can't play right now.
He's in 12 months, so he's basically like a 15-year-old little boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. I know, she made the eyeballs and teeth for you. But yeah, you can look now at it.
The dog is Gus?
Yeah.
Yep. Gus is the dog. People were asking. I'm. The thing is, I can actually take a vaccine and it does help. But its effect is limited. So I need to redo them as often as I should. Autoimmune stuff is the worst. Hi, Shane. Oh, apparently there is more that was not there. There we go. So, since there are not a ton of people here, and we have 122 people watching, and 24 likes, if you appreciate what I do out here, please like the stream. That helps people find it, and that's important, especially since, not exactly making money off of this. So, because Monday and Tuesday in particular are so quiet out here, I like to bring a topic, and we didn't get our topic yesterday because, I don't know, some people thought it was some small holiday thing. For some reason, lots of people had some medicinal herbs for some reason. I don't know. It was also Good Josh's good birthday party where he had good food. So, yeah, it was his birthday, but we got the presents. But, the good news that I have before we get on to our topic. Sorry. I keep saying, yes, I bring a topic because there's not much to watch out here. And I keep distracting myself from it. I'm scattered still. The good news is Virginia has just decided that if Republicans want to, Republicans decide, for some reason, Donald Trump keeps starting wars he doesn't have to, and then he keeps getting his ass handed to him. Virginia voted today to redistrict. They're probably going to pull up 4 more seats for Democrats, and that's assuming, 2024 sorts of numbers, and that, people who voted for Donald Trump don't just say, fuck this guy. And for some reason, I think a lot of people might be saying, fuck this guy. I don't know why, but
Pretty sure about it.
I don't know what gives me that idea. But the topic is somewhat related. I don't believe that the Republican Party qualifies as a legitimate political entity at this point. See, this is a little trick to keep water out of whatever it is being connected to. You want to have something for it to drip off of, just in case it comes at us sideways a little bit, because that never happens in Oregon.
Actually, the driest place to stay dry under the hut on most days is just this side of the hut.
Yeah. Just because of the wind. Yeah. I play the same sort of games with the sun. But I don't believe that the Republican Party is a valid democratic, lower D, political party at this point.
No, I think I have that.
And what I mean is that the Republicans and Democrats are supposed to, along with other minor third parties, because for some reason we can't seem to manage a major third party. Would be helpful if we did have a couple of those, but we don't. But the Democrats and Republicans are supposed to both compete with each other for votes, and they're supposed to serve as a check and balance against the other one going too far or becoming too corrupt. When one of them goes too far, the other one is supposed to be able to step in and say, no, that's not how that works. And my opinion is that the Republicans have decided to not behave unconstitutionally, but anti-constitutionally. Meaning that they, well, like I said, they're not a viable political entity anymore. They've stopped being one. And if they've stopped being one, well, what do we do then? I think one possible option is to wave at the TriMet bus. That is always a viable option. Yay, TriMet!
Tomorrow's Earth Day.
Tomorrow is Earth Day.
Every day should be Earth Day. Technically, tomorrow's like actually the holiday.
Yes.
We all thought it was a good time to be like the tree. By
Yeah.
the way, you know the whole group that we're talking about? It's Earth Day.
So one of the things that has come out of the election in Hungary, the elections in Hungary were absolutely fucking rigged. It was supposed to be impossible for Viktor Orban to not win that election. I suspect Viktor Orban did not want to win that election. Because the only way he was voted out with the way they rigged those elections in Hungary was for him to make choices to not try as hard. Allowing somebody who was formerly of his own political party and who walked away to say, I'm done with this, the same way that people like me said, I'm done with MAGA. You might find an umbrella in there if you'd like one.
It's okay. We were just trying to make sure that you weren't right.
I appreciate that. But what they did is remove the MAGA person by beat you to it, Chris. What Hungary did was simply declare its oligarch party to be antithetical to its democratic political process. Declare it an invalid party. Declare it no longer a legitimate party. And unwind 16 years of Orban's dictatorship all at once. It was gone immediately. Any laws passed to make it so only his party can do whatever, undone. All of it just gone immediately. Any appropriations that were improper are being unappropriated. Money given to corrupt oligarchs and their companies has been nationalized, seized, basically the equivalent of RICO. People are being charged. They're going to face charges, maybe convictions. Basically, everybody involved is looking at the very, very good likelihood that they're going to prison. The money they stole is being recaptured. The country is reestablishing democratic principles. People will be permitted to join new political parties. Probably there will be one that is essentially Orban's party, or what's left of it, just reformed, and it'll be a lot smaller and a lot fewer people. So probably what's going to happen to MAG after this is all done and over with.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Those people will not go away, unfortunately. They're sick in the head, and you're gonna have you've still got neo-Nazis in fucking Germany. You've definitely got them in the United States. We can see that. So these people aren't going away, but there's going to be an awful lot fewer of them, and they're not going to have much political power. And hopefully they never will again. But, you're probably going to wind up with 2, 3, 4 political parties in Hungary, and they're going to, in the next election, vote for what they want for the future. But what is going to be guaranteed in the meantime is that future is going to be more connected with the democratic process and with, Europe. We could do that in the United States.
Yeah, we could.
How we do that exactly, you guys got to know that one of the things I studied is at least part of the law. Not necessarily this precise area of law, but I can tell you there are probably legal ways that either do exist or could be created to allow us to do the same thing. The fact is, though, we have been in fucking unprecedented times for a quarter century at least, depending on how you look at things. We are coloring way the fuck outside the lines. So, how do we do it? We decide we're going to do it, and then we make it happen. What I am unsure about is whether or not we should. Because, and this is why I'm undecided on the idea, is because it's dangerous. Part of the reason why the Republican Party and Viktor Orban's party, part of the reason why they are not legitimate political entities is because in a democratic system, you depend on there being at least two political parties so that if one goes too far, the other or others can check that power and remove those who have gone too far, remove the party that would support them, and fix it. Now, in the United States, the problem is we have two parties, and we have only really ever had two parties. And the idea that we have more than two parties is mostly a political fiction. We've got effectively two parties. That is why, despite the fact that when I came out here and decided that I didn't want to be independent and that I wanted to stand with the people who were out here all the time, I registered as a Democrat. Well, more than half of them out here aren't Democrats. But you got two choices in this country if you want to actually affect change. And, you know, part of that is because you need to be able to choose your party's candidates. Well, if there's only two parties that actually matter, you have to choose the Republican candidate, good luck, or the Democrat candidate, good luck. The only way that you have even a chance is to pick one. And I can tell you, hell will freeze before I ever vote for another fucking Republican as long as I live. Not as long as this Republican Party continues to exist. And the fact is that over the past 9 months, I have kind of speed run going from a center-right conservative, sometimes, you know, on some issues really conservative, on some issues actually liberal, to being pretty much the closest alignment I've got is probably Democratic Socialist. It's not a one-to-one alignment. There are some litmus test questions that if people asked me and I answered them out here, they'd be really fucking pissed off at me. I'm Catholic, we'll leave it at that. I still have a problem with everything Republicans are doing related to that because, you know, the idea that you're going to put women under fucking surveillance and assume they are guilty of crimes they have not committed, some sort of fucking tradwife pre-crime bullshit, fuck that. The idea that you are going to harass and abuse people who are LGBTQ, LMNOP, whatever, fuck, I don't give a... I don't care. Everybody has rights. See, I actually was walking around with one of Rexy's flags, and I walked up to the camera, and I said, I am as straight as a board. Yeah. So why am I carrying this? Because everybody has rights.
That's heavy.
That's just it.
It is trail mix and gummies.
Thank you. Much appreciated. No, I would never keep track of the alphabet soup because that's just too many letters for me to keep in order. So, whatever. LGBTQ plus other things. All the things. I don't care. They have rights. And they should be left.
That's all I care about.
I have far too many friends who have the T that I'm not going to leave them out.
The tea.
Yeah. Because some people do, and that's not right. Why should everybody have rights but them? Oh,
That was such a thing in the 90s. It's like, well, we don't have to say that part. It's like, actually.
As long as what is happening involves consenting adults, I don't give a fuck.
Leave our kids alone.
Cheers.
But yeah, so anyway, so I'm going to fail a few litmus tests because if you ask me about, various things, I'm Catholic. And if you want to know what my faith says about these things, they say certain things are wrong. Of course, they also say that, sleeping around is wrong, and you don't see people, like, lining up with fucking torches and pitchforks because somebody had an affair. Oh, no!
They used to.
Well, we've decided for some reason that we weren't going to do that anymore. I wonder why.
Because I don't care which two consenting adults it is. If it's two consenting adults.
If you had an agreement with a consenting adult that you weren't going to do certain things with other consenting adults and you do them, you have an issue with them. You don't have an issue with me. I don't think that the world will come and get him if we sent him. If we sent Trump to the world to indict him for his crimes, yes. But I don't think the world will come and get him. They should, but they won't. After all, we decided we were going to go and kidnap the head of a foreign nation and put him on trial for crimes that he committed in this country without evidence that he was actually doing those crimes here. And after Donald Trump literally gave a pardon to somebody else who literally there was evidence that they were doing those same things here. Now, is Maduro innocent? Oh, no. Maduro honestly deserves to be fucking shot for his crimes. Like, the crimes he has actually committed, just the ones his own people deserve to shoot his ass for. But we didn't have that right. Or to, put him in prison as, stroke Donald Trump's ego and distract from the fact that Donald Trump rapes children, But
How many bombs have been dropped just because you can't get together and hold a guy that some idiot put in charge? That for being a pedophile.
yeah,
He's like, oh no. No. You didn't see that in the Epstein files? Let me bomb this shit.
we love our buses.
Thank you, driver.
How many trillions now have been spent on keeping Donald Trump out of prison? How many thousands have been killed to keep Donald Trump?
I don't even know the answer to how many bombs have been dropped.
We certainly don't know how many thousands have been killed, or tortured, or maimed. We don't know. But the fact that we know it's thousands just who have been killed, and that the guy has, committed treason. He told us himself what the sentence was for that crime. I'm not allowed to say it, but he did. There's one thing you're not allowed to say in this country. I can say that Maduro deserves to be shot, but there's one thing I'm not allowed to say in this country. But I can say that there are a few people who probably ought to get a needle. Non-specific who those people are.
I'm not saying anyone should. I'm just wondering why nobody has.
So in the meantime, we have this question of, should we, when Trump and Republicans are swept from power, because that will happen at this point, unless they do something really fucking drastic to keep it from happening, which would kind of prove the point, wouldn't it? They're going to be swept from power. And if they do something to make sure it doesn't happen, that proves that they need to be swept from power. The problem is that leaves one party in charge, the Democrats. And the only people who hate Democrats more than Republicans are Democrats. And there's reasons why. Chuck Schumer is a traitor. Chuck Schumer is doing Netanyahu's bidding just as much as Donald Trump is. The thing is, Trump is saying he's doing it out loud, and Chuck Schumer is just going, yeah, I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say no. And he's not alone. As far as I am concerned, center-left or centrist Democrats are more dangerous than mainstream Republicans, by far. So if we completely obliterate what passes for a Republican Party right now, and what may come out of it if we do that is a new party that calls itself the Republican Party may be created. And some people who are mainstream Republicans will probably join. In fact, a lot of people who are mainstream Republicans will probably join that party. But all of the people who are in Congress would not be allowed to serve in Congress or any public office ever again. I mean, some of them need to go to fucking prison, probably for the rest of their lives. Not going to say what might happen to them at the end of their lives, but some of them probably going to spend a very long time, and given their average age, the rest of their lives in prison. If we actually hold them accountable for their crimes as we should. But should we just simply say every single person who is a Republican in office at the federal level is barred from ever serving in public office or public employment ever again? Maybe we should do that. But it's dangerous as hell, because I don't know about where you live, but I live in Oregon. Not only do my local representatives at the federal level not give a fuck, they can count on winning their election. And because they can count on winning their election, they don't have to try and earn my vote. And that's the problem. Because when I emailed Bonamici, Suzanne Bonamici, I emailed her saying, Donald Trump is an existential threat to this country. He must be impeached now. Not 25th Amendment, he needs to be impeached.
Well, so here are two political parties that I think should exist in the United States that do not.
Oh, I doubt they can hear you over there, unfortunately.
So there's two political parties that I think should exist in the United States that do not.
Okay.
And that is one.
In addition to whatever we've got now, or should replace?
I think the Republican Party should be abolished.
This current Republican Party needs to be.
Yes. And I think there should be, I mean, there's something similar to it now, like the Green Party, what the Green Party originally was set up to be. But there should be an Earth activist party and an indigenous-led party. And at one point I was even like, and I think they should be the same party, but...
I mean, maybe they would be. And if they're not, maybe they would be a coalition. The party of Lincoln should exist. But today's Republican Party ain't that, and hasn't been for my entire lifetime. And more, probably. But the party of Lincoln was a fairly decent party. I mean, it wasn't perfect. It was not perfect. But it was a reasonably decent political entity.
If I'd have kept on trying into politics, which I didn't want to get into, I've already been through enough. I don't need any more freaking death threats or freaking any of it. Other than like, I'd rather go sit in the trees and tell the timber industry to go fuck themselves. But because there's no reason to be in politics right now in America. The few people that have any amount of power to change things haven't done enough to abuse it.
That's fair. The people who have the power to change things have not done enough to do it. They haven't really tried. You see a lot of votes taken, really strong votes. We must do this thing, when the vote doesn't matter. You see a lot of style, but not much substance. We'll vote really strongly to release all the Epstein files when we don't have the power to do it. But then, suddenly there was this overwhelming push to do it, even on the Republican side. And suddenly Democrats are like, shit, we're committed to it.
Yeah.
But then you notice that most of them haven't said much about the fact that the Epstein files still have not been released.
Not the whole.
We've gotten less than half of them, and possibly a lot less than half of them, and so heavily redacted that half of what we've got is useless. So the people who, would support a party of Lincoln probably deserve a party, and they might become Republicans. That might happen. But I genuinely would hope that we would come out of it with more than two parties. I know better.
I think we shouldn't have any less than 6.
I could name at least 6 parties.
Yep.
And it would be great if coalitions were required. I mean, a lot of people, we have it in Portland, and actually we voted to do it Oregon-wide, and it failed, I think. But we have in Portland a ranked choice voting. And I'm like, this is awesome, because, I'm a Linux guy. I was a Debian developer. There you go, Chuds. There's another thing for you to dox me on if you really care. I was a Debian developer. And I, was around when we created that bit where you have to have ranked choice voting in order to accomplish anything in Debian. It ended up being a little heavier than it should have been, and Debian's was the first constitution I've ever heard of where you have to calculate a square root to figure out whether something passes or not. But, in fact, you can kind of thank me for the Debian logo not having that stupid genie bottle attached to it. Because somebody created the swirl without the bottle and said, that should be the logo for Debian official releases that the Debian project produces. And anybody else has to use it with the bottle. And I'm like, I hate the bottle, it's stupid, let's reverse it, because the Debian project is never actually going to release anything itself. So let's just use the swirl. So I made that motion after we created the ranked choice thing, and
So, the thing that I heard the most when when I got political, not like really like,
yep.
As a
Can you guys hear her?
politics.
Just to make sure, it'll be 90 seconds before they answer. Otherwise, I'll just repeat what you're saying. So, before you got into politics.
There was a bunch of people who actually swayed me to get less political because they had convinced me that there is no money in saving the forests or the trees or the waters which ironically is the opposite from being true, because if we were replenishing our forests and, like the Klamath, opening back up our waterways where and when we can.
Give me a second she's saying that when when she was first getting involved in politics, or before she was really involved, people were trying to convince her there was no money to be had in conservation efforts at all. And she's pointing out that it's been discovered that that's actually the opposite of true. Not only is there not no money in doing it, there is actually money to be had if you do. It creates opportunity. So, go ahead. Some people are saying they can hear you and some are saying they can't.
So, when we look at renewable resources, because if we're not making them renewable, if we're not replanting our deciduous trees and replanting our natural species, our indigenous species, then we are actually deplenishing the resources that we have to do other efforts. So if we're taking out dams in our rivers, we've had salmon in the last 2 years, more plentiful and further upriver than there has been in 100 years. When we talk about replanting forests and reforestation efforts instead of cutting them down in mass.
So her first example was on the rivers. When we do things to take care of our rivers, we have more salmon than we have ever had, which is great for the fishing industry.
In more than 100 years.
More than 100 years. It's been better than it has been in over 100 years. The issue is, in order for her to be louder, she would have to be like right next to me, and there is a pup laying down right there. And we would have to move Gus, so...
And he's very asleep and
he's very asleep. And, he's heavy, so we don't want to move him. And if I moved the phone so it was between us, I couldn't read chat anymore. So we tried the laptop thing yesterday. It didn't work. I have to get my hotspot set up in order for that to work. And it has not happened yet. The person I need to do the get a SIM card thing is back in town. If I had more money coming in than I do, I could do it, but then I would be on the hook literally for $55 every month, rather than giving $55 to my fiance's mom, and if I don't have it this month, she would say it's okay. So I do have some expenses if I get that going. Not as many as Nathan does. He's got to pay for gas. I don't. But so you mentioned the rivers. Are you aware of what happened in Scotland?
What happened in Scotland?
Scotland is a country that for hundreds of years was known for its heavy winds and storms and whatnot. It was storm country. The winds were rugged. The land was rugged. The rivers were kind of dried up into tiny little streams. What they did was they imported 11 beavers and let them go. They rebuilt the rivers. Just leaving the beavers alone. They rebuilt the river system. And what they built was a system of rivers and locks. As in Loch Ness. But they built like, you look at the land, and around it, where it used to be, kind of just sort of brown grasses, really long grasses, they've been planting trees as well, but a few trees, the beavers have actually helped the trees flourish, and they've taken these dry, empty riverbeds and they've built dams, and they've turned it into like just a series of locks and some straight rivers. Nobody understands how they knew what to do, and we certainly didn't know what to do, but it has actually changed the climate in Scotland for the better. They don't have this. They don't have the storms that they were having.
I forget which Asian country. One of the Asian countries has reforested to the point of literally changing weather patterns.
Yeah, same idea. That was also talked about in the same video. They did the same thing with the beavers. They brought in some beavers, and the beavers fixed the rivers.
Yep. And so if we replenish our earth and we reforest and then we actually are benefiting ourselves instead of what the Republican Party is doing right now.
And by the way, the whole thing with Scotland, it started with 11 beavers and 3 years. It was, or was it 2? I think it was 3, but it might have been 2. And in that short pilot, they saw how it was already being massively effective. So they imported 40 more beavers and just let them go. They just let them run. And they did it to the entire country.
Nature for the win.
Beavers literally are, and of course, from the beaver state, I'm pretty fucking proud of that fact. Beavers are nature's river architects. They know how to care for the rivers better than we do. So there are opportunities. And I mean, yeah, I was raised to basically be conservative. So when you talk to me about like carbon credits, I'm like, yeah, that kind of sounds like bullshit.
As it is.
Because it is, probably.
What does that
I mean,
smell like? Chemical
you could possibly convince me that there is such a thing as a legitimate carbon credit thing. But it still sounds like a way for some people to make money off of the fact that they're making other companies pay to look like they're better than they are. That doesn't actually improve the planet, so far as I can tell. If you were able to tell me that that money was actually going directly into programs to use, you know, to be used to actually do things like replant forests and rebuild rivers by importing beavers or something like that, or clean up water that comes out of the faucet with so many chemicals in it that you can light it on fire. Yes, I know water is a chemical. I'm not one of those idiots. But if you've got added shit to the water that you can literally hold a lighter up to the water as it's coming out of the faucet and it goes woof, that water ain't fucking safe to drink.
It is 8:04.
It
You
is.
gotta be headed out here in the next half hour.
Then I will probably be on my own for a little while. But
I've got a 10 o'clock curfew right now.
oh, you have to be somewhere before.
Before 10.
Huh?
Before 10.
Yay, TriMet! We love our buses, even if they aren't electric.
The problem is getting an actual earth-friendly electric bus.
Isn't
Because most of the electric buses are actually more detrimental. Most electric vehicles are actually more detrimental to the environment and planet than burning gas.
that's actually not hard to fix though, because the main reason why electric vehicles are harmful to the environment is they are using lithium in the batteries, and a lot of it. And what do you do with the lithium? Some people are starting to recycle lithium, because the thing is, we use a lot of lead acid batteries in gasoline powered cars. The thing is, we're not putting more lead into our environment because the lead is pretty much sealed inside those batteries. And when the battery is dead, you're not allowed to throw it into landfill. You have to take it to a place to be recycled.
It's actually the mining that does
And-
the most damage.
Yeah.
Alright, I think we're gonna start packing up and heading off. Oh, can we show everybody our sign real quick?
Oh, absolutely.
It's our Help Us Save the Trees sign.
Absolutely.
We have our trip to Mount Hood coming
Let's see if it shows. It's a little dark. Let me see if I can get it a little lighter. There we go. Let's zoom in on it a little. Could you hold it up just a tiny bit higher? Could you raise the sign just a little bit? There we go. Now they can see the bottom of it. Want to leave it there for just a couple of seconds? There we go. That should do good.
Alright.
Wanted to make sure people can actually see the sign.
We have locals on the mountain already kind of waiting on the snow to melt for us to go up there.
She's already said how she feels about that. And I mean, how do you think she feels about it? Someone is asking, ask her how she feels about being attacked the other night. Gee, it was great! That's kind of not a really useful question. He does. Stretching the ears. Oh, he's getting ready to walk away. So one of the things about batteries is we've mostly, at this point, mined all of the lithium for batteries that we will probably ever use, especially given that we're starting to see some new technologies that's going to replace lithium. So that'll be interesting. And the mining of lithium has been awful. It could be done better than it has been, but lithium is not the only metal that we are mining. We need to do a better job at recycling our metals. That's for damn sure. But there's starting to be lithium battery recycling, like serious lithium battery recycling, so that every device that has a lithium battery, the metal in it is going to be used in new batteries. And that's what's happening with lead acid batteries. If you buy a new car battery, it contains lead, which is dangerous, but it contains the same lead that has been in 10, 20 batteries at this point since the recycling programs got going. That's just how it goes. Okay, I thought that said graboid, and I'm like,
I think that could be fine with this.
graboid? A couple of weeks ago, a bunch of people who are MAGA are coming out and trying to convince people that Pam and Sandy and a bunch of other people who are not in any way dangerous to us
If you're here
are.
tomorrow, we'll see you tomorrow.
I won't be out until Friday probably,
Okay, we'll see you on
but
Friday
I'll
then.
be here Friday.
Okay. Happy Earth Day, guys.
Happy Earth Day. You know, I might come down for Earth Day. I might do that. On a night like tonight, a Tuesday night, there's usually only a couple of people, and they don't tend to stay unless other people have come out. So tomorrow, rain or shine, there will be people here. That'll happen just because it's Earth Day. And quite probably, there will be a lot of focus on the tree. Just because we love our tree, actually. I mean, that's literally what all there is to it. We love our tree. I still have the flash on, not that it matters. Another bus. Yay for TriMet! We love our buses! Yeah, I'll go over and look at Antifa in a bit. That bus runs all the way out to Oregon City. Well, if it's a 35. I didn't see if it's a 35 or a 40. If it's a 35, it runs all the way out to Oregon City. The thing is, and I looked up the actual maps so I can explain it a little better. The 35 has a 35R and a 35T. The 35T goes on Terwilliger, which is more active and it has more bus stops on it, but it also slows down the bus. The 35T connects you to other buses. So if I'm going out to, Tualatin, which is what I tend to take the 35 to, the 35T is the bus I need to take. The 35R takes the river. It is 35R is for Riverside. It takes a different route that's a little faster, shorter, fewer bus stops. You can walk up to Terwilliger from where it would let you off, but if you're trying to make a transfer, you're not going to make your transfer. Earth Day is tomorrow. TriMet depends a lot on its trains. Its trains are all electric, and I think they've tried a couple of buses that are electric, but a lot of TriMet's buses are older, so it will be decades before they have completely switched over. When I first started riding buses, there was definitely a diesel smoke thing going on at the buses, around the buses, even though they have kind of a smokestack on the back that the smoke comes out of. But it was still a diesel smell anytime you got near a bus. That isn't the case with these buses. They have some pretty decent emissions standards for those buses. So they are better than you would expect, and they are diesel powered. But the main issue for why we haven't switched over to electric before now is before now you could not get an electric battery that could hold a charge long enough. So you'd actually need to buy more than one bus to replace a single diesel powered bus. So Lita was saying that mining heavy metals and rare earth minerals requires mixing groundwater with arsenic, which that's dangerous. But it's one of the reasons why minerals mining is something, that we'd like to ideally have less of, or change how we do it. I only know a little bit about alternatives for the way we do mining right now. But part of the problem is that most of the rare earth minerals get mined in places where they give absolutely zero fucks about the environment. And that's not good. But for those wondering, essentially what happened to Sandy is that some people were trying to convince the locals that folks like Pam and Sandy were actually working to undermine the other protesters out here, that they were working against us. And they managed to convince a group of people that Sandy was basically selling us out, because Sandy would actually try to talk to the MAGA folks and, de-escalate things, because, guns have been pulled out here. Not by us, but guns have been pulled. And, the last time that happened, Shane drew a gun and pointed at several people more than once. And even the people with him are like, Shane, dude, fucking put it away.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
We have blackberry bars today. Would you like one?
Absolutely.
We also have
Thank you.
burritos. Can I give you a napkin? They're a little sticky and sugary.
Much appreciated.
You like one?
Also much appreciated.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I got out here, I'm like, it's wet. There's gonna be like 2 people out here, and by the time, by 8:30, there's gonna be nobody here.
I had to test this up. I'm just filling that out.
So I don't know if there's many people down under the shelter at the base camp, but
It looks like there's a few.
that's good.
6 right, and then they just
We'll
keep
get
going
the
out.
Okay.
leftovers to a free fridge, so it all gets used well.
Yeah. None of it goes to waste.
Well, if you don't mind coming back around with those.
Let me give you another one. I've got a ton.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And me and the rest of the burrito crew were talking today about making plans for Cinco de Mayo. So
Absolutely.
my friend is gonna, one of the other people is gonna approach a restaurant that's on the way here from where they live. So
I
we'll
was
start that.
I was hoping, to like get around and start a collection too, because I put in as much as I could.
Absolutely.
But I mean that was why it's like it can only be on a day like a Tuesday when there's not very many people. But I mean Taco Tuesday. So.
I mean, I feel like we can.
I think a lot of people are going to be down here for Cinco de Mayo.
For Cinco de Mayo, I think
Yeah.
a lot of.
I think a
I
lot of
don't
birds
normally
are gonna
come
be
out
out
on
for
Wednesday.
Cinco
I
de
might
Mayo.
talk to my fiance about coming down tomorrow because Earth Day.
Oh yeah.
That's
So
a good thought.
I so much love your hat.
It's so good.
I love your hat. I don't think everybody can see it. Hang on. There we go. That is so cool.
It's a good
I love
hat.
it. I love it.
So we'll we'll talk to like a restaurant.
Absolutely.
And see what we can do. What we can do for.
How you can parlay
Yeah, I mean,
them.
I absolutely do not mind white people tacos that you would get from a place like, you know.
Oh, I'm so glad you like them. I have it time. Would you like one for later?
So anyway, I'll be in touch.
So I want to make sure I give at least one to Katie. So
Okay.
she's now got what I had. So
I know I've got more than that.
and I'm really bad for being sick because of the chemo. So
Yeah.
Right.
when I get sick, I am
That's
really sick, and I'm sick for longer. And Katie gets sick. You know, she's got an amazing immune system, so she gets sick for shorter. But then she's coughing for like weeks because wheelchair.
Right. Oh,
She doesn't
yeah,
she
clear her
can't
lungs.
move
Yeah.
like I can
Right. Yeah.
because
Got it.
her whole spine is just completely fused.
Oh, jeez.
But she will greatly appreciate that. I'm
Oh, good.
gonna eat this one on account of this one is a little less sticky.
Okay.
We'll be back around before we leave too. See y'all later.
Guys, check that out. I mean, I really should just like turn the camera around. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Have a good night.
You too. Yeah, look at that. Yum. Good sized blueberry bar. And of course, we have Charlie's Burritos, which are excellent hand warmers. It's too hot to handle at the moment. Do I have a bottle of water? Yes, I do. But I also have my usual Coke Zero. Why Coke Zero? Because I am diabetic. I am hella diabetic. And I am so diabetic that I should probably not actually eat the blueberry bar if I'm going to eat the burrito first. Not right away, anyway. I should probably wait an hour. I'm not going to, but I should. This is what happens when you are diabetic and, you know, not behaving yourself properly. That will send my blood sugar up to about 200 milliliters, or 200. Shit, what is it? Milligrams per deciliter. That's what it is. 200 milligrams per deciliter, which is very high. It won't stay there because, actually, it probably will because of the burrito. It'll stay there for about an hour. That's not ideal, but I don't want to bring insulin out here because then I am bringing sharp things and trying to stab myself in public, and nobody wants to see that. The best you can do with things like diesel is heavy filtration of the emissions. It's not great. I mean, essentially, the difference between renewable and non-renewable is literally every time you use a non-renewable fuel, you are burning it. You are burning it up. A renewable thing, and that includes, you know, batteries that will eventually die. you get to use the same energy source more than once. Maybe not infinitely. I mean, there's no such thing as perpetual energy, but you get to reuse it more than once. And if battery technology is eventually going to fail you, well, batteries can be recycled. Lithium batteries had not been until very recently, and the program to do it is still too small. But within 5 years, if we, get somebody who actually gives a shit about recycling lithium batteries, there could be, an industry around doing that.
Last call before we head out.
I'll take seconds.
All right.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
There you go.
Much appreciated.
Always. Have a good night.
You too. The smog of the 80s is the cause of one of my disabilities. Unfortunately, the asthma, which is honestly more of a disability at times than being blind. The asthma I have to deal with is a result of growing up around smog and cigarette smokers. I don't think that TriMet is going to meet their 2030 goal. Not in 2030. I mean, they may meet it, but not in 2030. They don't have the funding. They didn't have the funding to do it before funding was cut off, but funding has been cut off, so. But, I mean, the whole point of Project 2025 was to cut off all of that funding to everybody for everything. I mean, the goal of Project 2025 is literally the same as the goal of Project 1933. So, nobody out here? There are people down there. I don't go down there and film, but they keep an eye on ice. And I'm doing the same thing from, a different corner. Pam will stir some shit sometimes, yeah. Now that I know who Pam is, yeah, she can stir some shit sometimes. And, I mean, when Pam posts some stuff in video, she will let the chuds just say what they want to say and just ignore them. I probably made the mistake of replying to one of them to say, yes, actually, as a matter of fact, I do hate Donald Trump. I do fucking hate MAGA. Once you learn that you have been lied to about everything, and that even if it wasn't a lie, the party that supported it has become a part of it. Yeah, I fucking hate that. And I fucking hate the people who continue to support and defend it. I took an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And right now, every Republican in Congress is an enemy. Because they are working to undermine the literal Constitution. That was that was what I was saying. The goal of the business plot was to replace our Constitution and government by the people with government by the autocracy, government by the wealthy, to remove the stupid little people who want things like, oh, Social Security and Medicare for the sick and disabled and the poor. Get rid of that kind of shit. They don't need that. We don't need to be paying for other people. If you can't afford to pay for it yourself, you don't fucking deserve it. Literally to install a fascist dictator. By name. That was what they were trying to do. They wanted this retired Marine general to become our country's first fascist dictator. Somebody who would act like the great Adolf Hitler, Benito Mussolini. Somebody like them. That's what they wanted. And because the man was politically connected, the man who was at the center of it, Prescott Bush, along with several Republicans and a few Democrats too, and a bunch of rich motherfucker businessmen, they got away with it. They literally committed treason, and they got away with it in 1933. Obviously, they weren't successful, but they didn't go to prison, they weren't hung, they weren't shot. Anything that should have happened to them for the crime they committed didn't. The business plot was Project 1933. In 1980, Ronald Reagan tried to implement slowly. Instead of trying to just do it, let's just mosey on toward it. And we've had a slow march toward implementing systematically what was in the business plot to replace a democratically elected government with the government by a unitary executive is the term that they use. Unitary executive. Those are nice words, but what they really mean is dictator. Unitary, one executive. One person who makes the decisions about what happens in government. Now, of course, there's no such thing as an actual one-person government. They always have their advisors, their oligarchs, their sycophants, their people who make it happen. And in the case of Donald Trump, they also make sure that they know what he sees. Because what Donald Trump sees defines what Donald Trump does. That's why they're shutting him out of war meetings. They want to control what he sees, but they need to see everything. Oh, hi, Laura. I hope, aside from the occasional coughing and sore throat, I sound like I'm doing a lot better. I'm feeling a lot better. Damn, these burritos are good. They are actually vegan burritos. I really wish they had a cheese, because that would make them, that would add a little bit of salt to them, and I think they could use it. But aside from wanting cheese and not having brought any, I should have thought to. These are so good. Little spice to them, but in fact, tonight they're a little spicier than usual. It's almost too much for me, but not too much for me. You know what time it is. Yay, TriMet! We love our buses! Nobody's honking at me tonight. That's alright. I know that they're not allowed. Joseph. It's Joseph. It's a J name. Jonathan's my brother. So since you're not here very often during my live streams, Laura, you should know that you are absolutely welcome and encouraged. If somebody is being an asshole, feel free to time them out or kick them out. You also have the ability to remove comments if they look like somebody's being an asshole. So, I usually go through every couple of days and take care of comments, but no worries, Laura. I was out for a literal week. But since you're usually not here for my live streams, I wanted to make sure that you knew that the only real rule around here is don't piss off the moderators. There's a fairly low low tolerance around here for people supporting ICE, people supporting MAGA. I mean, I know we've got one guy here who is MAGA, but he's behaving himself, so they're leaving him alone. But if somebody's coming in and basically being a butthead, or worse, feel free to show them the door. Timeouts, or just hide them from the channel. That's totally fair. So anyway, yeah, in summary, sorry I've been so distracted tonight. For nobody being here, we've been all over the place a little bit. Fuck ICE! Another bus. We love TriMet! Yeah, hey, we got a honk. That bus had a couple of people on it. Sitting in the back. They must be troublemakers. I'm sure they're being paid by Soros. It's kind of cold and wet out here. Although, actually, I'm sitting here with my, I am sitting here, zoom out. Come on, zoom out. I am sitting here, like, with my t-shirt, and just, you know, my sweatshirt and my coat over the top of it. But I'm not even zipped up because it's a little chilly, but if I'm under here, it's not that bad since I got the layers on. Anyway, let's go back to looking at I'll turn the camera a bit to point so it at least includes the base camp so you guys can see that people are in fact here. But it is exhausting. Just, I mean, the thing is, I said earlier on Discord that we have been in unprecedented times for so long now. People are exhausted, and none of us are our best selves right now. I mean, that's truly the case. We've got very low tolerance for things that we otherwise would have. And we're not the best to each other that we could be and should be. It's just a lot. And some of it being a lot is kind of on purpose. But to actually try and like coalesce my thoughts on the on our topic, since we've kind of been all over the place, I think that the current iteration of the Republican Party has demonstrated clearly that it is not merely unconstitutional, it's anti-constitutional. And as such, at least at the federal level, I mean, I could go further than that, but I think at the federal level, everybody currently elected, and you know, maybe we extend that to people who have left office, needs to be barred from public employment and public office. I would argue maybe we should bar them from entering federal buildings without a requirement that they be there. You know, so if they have to show up for court, they're allowed to be there, but otherwise, no federal building access, which means no lobbying. Does that place restrictions on what they can do? Yes, absolutely. But they tried to overthrow the U.S. Constitution. And if that is what happens to them, they should consider themselves lucky. That much, I think, should happen regardless. And I think I've expressed that before. I certainly have in comments on random ass videos, but I think I've said that to you guys before. The question was, though, Hungary has seen fit to simply have the political party, which was a right-wing political party, created by somebody who was a member of Orban's party previously, is basically declaring 16 years of governance null and void. Any laws put on the books? Nope, goodbye. If we want to actually establish these laws, we will do it the right way with an actual legal, valid political process where there can be some opposition. Any corrupt appropriations? Nope, we're clawing that money back. We are nationalizing whatever it was. We are seizing the money that went to these private entities, and we're putting it back into something that is ultimately to be controlled by the public. And we will allow, like, actual votes to decide where things go. It is big. It carries risks. And frankly, I think it's dangerous. But I'm not sure if we should do it in the US. We can, because we are coloring so far out of the fucking lines in general. Like, both Trump administrations, interrupted briefly by Biden, that did fucking nothing. Kind of a placeholder. Although I have to say, a couple of things were starting to happen under the Biden administration. I honestly say that I would blame Kamala Harris for those things myself, but you started to see some interesting things happening at the Federal Trade Commission, but not much else. But between Trump's first administration and definitely his second one, we are so far out of the lines at this point that I think we legitimately could sweep all he's done away. And that would include removing those people from the Supreme Court. Now, if we do that, I don't think Democrats should be allowed to put 3 people on the Supreme Court just like that. Because for the same reason why it's maybe not a good idea. Frankly, I don't trust the Democrats to do that. If there's any MAGA people watching this stream, I said it, but maybe you didn't catch it. The only people who hate the Democratic Party more than Republicans are Democrats. So I don't trust this Democratic Party to fill 3 seats on the Supreme Court. I don't know if we can actually do the Supreme Court thing. I don't know if we should do the Supreme Court thing. I mean, the argument for it is everything Donald Trump did was an attempt at a coup. And as an attempted coup and treason against the Constitution, everything he did was invalid. So therefore, any Supreme Court appointments he made were invalid. And as Congress participated in that process, their confirmation of those appointments was also invalid. That's the argument. Does it stand up? Frankly, if we decide it stands up, if the people decide that it stands up, then it stands. So could we do it? Yeah, we absolutely could. Should we do it? Should we do it? That's what I'm not sold on, because I don't trust the politicians. And I started to say, and got distracted from at least part of why, I sent a letter to Bonamici saying I thought Donald Trump was an existential threat to our country. He needed to be impeached. And she needed to do whatever she needed to do to support and push that along. Do you know what I got back? I got back a message saying, oh, yeah, I'm working on education. I'm glad you're working on education, but we kind of have some stuff that's a little more important right this minute that you need to be paying attention to. She doesn't care because she doesn't have to care. She represents a district in Oregon that voted 85% for fucking Hillary Clinton. Now, I realize it was Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. So given that choice, Hillary Clinton is probably an easier vote for most people who are not Republicans. It was actually a pretty easy vote for a number of people who were Republicans. I couldn't do it. But the Oregon Democratic Party is corrupt. Very corrupt. We have people breaking campaign finance laws all over the place. We have sketchy bidding happening. We have, I mean, 3 of our past 4 governors have committed serious financial crimes, and 2 of them had to leave office rather than be indicted for their crimes as governor. That's a fucking corrupt party. And part of why I registered as a Republican when I first got to Oregon anyway was knowing that that party was corrupt. You know, theoretically, the other party is supposed to be the other party to check that corruption. Well, they never have, because by the time I was doing it, Oregon was a one-party state, and it still is. You need 2 viable political parties or more. Sandy was suggesting 6 or more. I could see that pretty easily. But that's why I'm concerned about what I'm suggesting for the topic here. Do we sweep Democrats into power and then tell them what we want them to do is make the federal Republican Party extinct? And then undo every single law they've passed, anything they've done, seize all money that has been appropriated incorrectly, go after, RICO the shit out of anybody involved in illegal insider trading. Literally just go after them all and punish the political enemies. Because if we do that, we're basically saying, we want you to be one party and take over everything, and hope you don't abuse it and replace a Republican dictator with a Democrat dictator, essentially. That's my worry. That's why it's dangerous. And that's why I'm not convinced yet on whether or not we should attempt that risk. Now, Chuck Schumer's never going to do it, because Chuck Schumer's a traitor little bitch. Hakeem Jeffries is never going to do it, because Hakeem Jeffries is a traitor little bitch. But if we replace them, are we going to end up with, the fact is, dictators get overthrown all the time. Usually it's a military matter. And I have actually said, and I can no longer say, but I have previously said, that no dictator who was voted into office has ever been voted back out. That's not true now, because Viktor Orban was voted out. Donald Trump could be voted out. Or we could replace, Republicans with Democrats and insist that Jeffries and Schumer step down and put people in charge of Congress that will actually do what needs to be done. We could do that, and it may be 2027 instead of 2029 that Trump goes away. I hope we do, but do we want to give these people the power to do whatever they want. Because, I mean, we're theoretically giving them the power to do what we want, but we're effectively giving them the power to do what they want. And that isn't necessarily the same thing. Military dictators are usually overthrown by violent action. And the problem with that is when it happens that way, which is the default, you know, the French Revolution ended with Napoleon. Napoleon was a dictator. So he replaced a king with a military dictator. Great. How'd that work out? Not so great. So however it's done, it needs to be done damn carefully. Truly, the best thing that could happen is that we end up with more than two parties. Because there's definitely not a united single party on the Democrat side of things. If making this current Republican Party basically extinct happens, what's going to happen is that the people who are currently part of it are probably going to become multiple parties, at least for a little while. You might have the people who would consider themselves mainstream Republicans, or hopefully more ideally, what I would like to see is the people who you could call, you know, the Lincoln Republicans. The party of Lincoln will be the ones who end up being called Republican in the future. I want that just because, you know, I know a little history, and what I thought I was part of was the party of Lincoln. I never will be again, even if that's what happens. But I'd like to see it, just, you know, nostalgia reasons, I guess. But you might get the people who are essentially the, you know, Christian conservatives forming a party. You might get, I mean, you're basically going to get the fucking neo-Nazi party. That's a given at this point. You're going to have the incel neo-Nazi party. Nick Fuentes group. They're going to exist as an entity. Hopefully they are not welcome back into the fold if the party coalesces, but the most likely thing that will happen is that the current Republican Party will be basically smashed, and people who are maybe a little more not MAGA, because MAGA's going away after this. I mean, MAGA is effectively done. MAGA is literally the Trump party, and really the Trump cult of personality. MAGA is done when King Childfucker ends up kicking the bucket. It will not survive him. Mostly because it doesn't actually stand for anything. knowing a little history, it isn't so simple as to say they switched sides. They switched sides on some issues. One of them that they switched sides on was civil rights. But it isn't so simple to say that they switched sides. And I keep likening Project 2025 to the business plot, which was essentially Project 1933, trying to do it all at once. To create a single unitary executive, a dictator. They were upfront about it. They were creating a fascist dictator. That is often described as having been a Republican plot. But it wasn't the mainline Republican Party that did it. It was several Republicans and a few Democrats. It wasn't a wholly partisan thing. Now, the fact that they basically got away with treason was that they were politically connected. All of them. But it wasn't just a Republican thing. And it wasn't all the Republicans either. Freaking Ike wasn't for it. In fact, the guy they picked to be their military dictator, the general who was supposed to be their fascist military dictator, is the one who turned them all in. He went along with it to find out who was involved, and then he ratted them all out. And he did it because he was a Republican patriot. There are a lot of people who are genuine about being patriots who are Republican. There are a lot of people a little less loud about it who are genuinely patriots who are Democrats. But there's a good number of Democrats and a much bigger number of Republicans whose only loyalty is to a corrupt system that isn't constitutional. And that's what I want to see go away. That's true, they did. But at the same time, there was war among the native tribes. It was a different sort of war than, we taught them to fight differently, but they still had war. And sometimes that was bloody war. The problem with the idea, make America great again, and you'll have any person on the left say, America wasn't great before. That's kind of unfair. In some ways it's very true, but in some ways it's very unfair. What I think is a better thing to say is America has never been as good as our propaganda makes us seem. The great George Washington did own slaves. And he mistreated his slaves. Now, he also, by our standards today, mistreated his soldiers. We would never allow today the way he treated his soldiers. And he treated his slaves much like he treated his soldiers, which is to say, by our standards, very badly. But he wanted Congress to end slavery. Now, he wanted Congress to buy his slaves from him and free them, but he wanted to not be out the money and to have them be bought so that he could pay his debts and so that people's property rights were respected on some level. And I mean, he had excuses, but the fact is he did own slaves, and he did not do what Jefferson did, which was free his slaves. Jefferson freed his slaves. Now, Jefferson had his own faults. So our stories of these men are not as good as our mythology of our history makes it sound. If you get into the actual history, not what you learn in elementary school, which is at least part propaganda, but the actual meat and potatoes of history, they aren't as great as we learned they were in elementary school. But they weren't bad men. And you sometimes see people on the left try to say they were bad men and they should be just simply removed from history. We should ignore them, that we should not acknowledge them as having done anything special because they weren't good men. They were good men for the time, but they weren't as good as we make them sound in elementary school. And they were far from perfect. MLK was far from perfect. Malcolm X was far from perfect. If you're listening to people on the right, he was very far from perfect. It really is a case of don't meet your heroes. I think the kids are playing. I got a little behind on chat, so I want to catch up here. Sorry, guys. I actually disagree about Vance replacing Trump. Vance is a chameleon. What will Vance do? Vance will do whatever he thinks will help him attain power. Vance has represented a lot of very MAGA opinions, but the fact is, if MAGA is done and people are like, fuck MAGA, MAGA needs to be just simply ripped apart politically, he will turn on a dime, and for that matter, so will Rubio. These are political chameleons. And the fact is, Vance, if Vance becomes president, he will not get a second term. He will not. Rubio maybe could. Any other time. Because Rubio is actually, Rubio knows how to be a charming guy with some charisma. JD Vance just kind of feels gross. But what JD Vance is not is insane. Hello.
We broke into the car.
What?
Their windows all broken unless that's ice. Do you see it?
Nobody broke in while I was here.
You see what's on the ground?
Oh, nobody broke like windows while I was here.
Maybe the canal broke.
Maybe. I haven't gone over there to look. Yeah, nobody broke a window.
Oh, they're bubbles.
Oh.
Bubbles, and they're all landing on the table, shining
Oh.
like ice or glass.
Oh.
Oh, that's a lot nicer. See, they're coming out of the car's window.
I actually can't see from here.
I could barely see it, but the bubbles are coming from out.
That car right over there?
The white car straight ahead.
Oh, the
With
one.
its lights on?
That
Yeah,
one.
that one.
Okay. Let's see if I can. Oh, yep, those are bubbles. Okay. It does kind of look like glass from here, doesn't it?
On the ground, right?
Yeah.
It lights up.
Yeah.
Do you have video from April 6th at 9:39 p.m.?
I can't check right now because I'm recording.
But you could, right? I mean, like later.
If you look at my
YouTube.
look at my YouTube, my channel, my videos are mostly dated.
Oh, okay.
From about that time, they certainly
Okay,
are.
I'll find it then. You don't have to go to me. Thank you.
She's looking for evidence against Nathan, I'm guessing. Because she says that Nathan called her a drunk. If I've tried to remember, he might have said he thought she had been drinking. I don't want in the middle of that dispute between the two of them. Honestly, I don't. Because genuinely, this is a couple of friendlies. I hope that if she finds that video, what she hears is Nathan saying something different than what she thinks he said. And she realizes, oh, I have, I mean, maybe he did say it. That doesn't sound like Nathan to me, though. I mean, his chat, it sounds like some of you guys. She's a drunk. I can see chat saying that. Yeah. So the reason why I'm not against impeachment is because Vance will become a very different president. Because, I mean, he's going to try to do something to make it so that people would be willing to re-elect him. Because he wasn't elected. He got the president by accident, but he wants it so bad, and he'll do anything to keep it once he's got it, so he will become the most nicest, most friendly president you've ever... Fake as fuck. It ain't gonna work. But he will become a very different president. And what he will be for sure, that is most important, is not crazy. The problem is that Vance has the charisma of, a pile of dog shit. And that's not going to change. And his association with Trump will never just be, I mean, he's going to be, part of one and done if Trump is impeached. Now, what's interesting is if the impeachment happens before next January, technically, Vance could only run for president for one more term. If it happens after, he could run for 2 whole terms, plus whatever part. Kids are playing. Play nice, kids. It did. Oh yeah, JD Vance is done. So JD Vance very, very likely is hoping that impeachment happens. The big problem is the 25th Amendment. All right. Do I need to go into why the 25th Amendment doesn't work very well? Fuck ICE! Do y'all need me to go into that? Because I can. The short version is just basically explaining what's in the Constitution. The 25th Amendment says that one of two ways can the 25th Amendment be imposed. One, the majority of Trump's cabinet and the vice president agree that he is unfit for office. He can also, do it voluntarily, but that'll never happen. But for involuntary, it requires the majority of the vice president and the cabinet to decide he's unfit. Or an entity appointed by Congress that doesn't exist currently. Now, Democrats have tried to put forward a bill to create that entity. This is more of this political theater. There's not a chance in hell. But Congress doesn't have that mechanism to determine that the president is unfit. If that succeeds, they submit a letter to Congress saying he ain't right in the head or whatever. At which point, Donald Trump is your president. Wait, we just said that he's incompetent. Yeah. Donald Trump is still your president. JD Vance becomes acting president. And he has the duties of the president. But JD Vance is not president. And when the incapacity is finished, or when he feels like it, Donald Trump submits a letter to Congress saying, no, I'm good. I'm ready to be president again. I'm good to go. And if he sends that letter to Congress, Congress either has to accept it or by a 2/3 vote of both houses reject it. That's more than is required for an impeachment, by far. Because for impeachment, you do not need a 2/3 majority in the House, nor do you need a majority of the cabinet to decide that he's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. All you need is a simple in the House and 2/3 of the Senate. That's all it takes. The problem is, if you don't get that 2/3 in both, or even let's say you do. Because if you don't, Donald Trump is president again with his finger on the nuclear button. Well, let's say you get your 2/3. Okay. The next day, Donald Trump submits a letter saying, no, I'm fit to be president again. And you need another 2/3 vote in both houses. Do you see why this is not a good solution to the problem? Because Donald Trump can keep declaring he's ready to be president again until 2029. And if at any point you fail to get 2/3 vote in both houses he's president again. If you want to strip him of power and make sure he stays stripped of power, you have to impeach. Now, what I have suggested as a means to keep him from doing something fucking crazy, if the votes are there to impeach, is for the cabinet to be informed that the votes are there to impeach and ask them to use the 25th Amendment. And then you approach Donald Trump with, the cabinet has already voted to invoke the 25th Amendment. You are now powerless. And the votes are there to impeach you right now. Do you want to go out on your own terms, where you save face in some way, and maybe we give you a promise that, you lose power, maybe you'll lose some money, but you don't go to prison, which I don't like, but the fact is Donald Trump may not be all there enough for prison to really matter all that much. I mean, he'd hate it, but the dude's gonna wind up in a locked mental ward at this point anyway. So it's not like he's gonna be in a cell with bars on the door. He'll be in a place where they've, locked the doors and he can't get out. That's it. Because he's that far gone, I think. So I think that is actually the best solution. Because the thing is, if you impeach him in the House, which requires a simple vote, a simple majority vote, if you impeach him in the House, he's still president until removed from office, which makes him dangerous. But if you've got the 25th Amendment, so that by the time you inform him the votes are there to impeach, the 25th Amendment has already stripped him of his authority. Basically, the cabinet meets down the hall in the White House without telling him, just like they did for, the military stuff. He's just not informed that he's being removed of power. And then when they go to tell him, it's like, they got the votes to impeach you right now and they're gonna do it. Well, then I'm gonna. No, you're not, because you've been stripped of your power by the 25th Amendment. Now you got two choices. You can go out and save some face, or you can be taken out by Congress. In the meantime, you won't have power because you're not currently, you have been, divested of your authority. So you won't be doing anything crazy in the meantime. That option exists, but do we, do we have Republicans in Congress willing to do it? I don't think we do at the moment. If we did, they would have done it by now, I'd hope.
Hello.
Hi. So it's going to have to be done the hard way. We're going to have to impeach him and hope. Or there's going to have to be some deal that he doesn't get to, do things. I don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, we are coloring all the way the fuck out of the lines here. There is no constitutional anything that covers the situation we're dealing with right now. And there aren't even laws to cover what we're dealing with right now. This is a fucking nightmare. Now, I gotta admit, the reason I don't like the combination of impeachment and the 25th Amendment to allow him to save face on his way out the door, in order to get him out more easily and more quickly. I'll admit it, I want that motherfucker to suffer for what he's done. I don't want him to be able to do a Nixon where he can resign and, say, I'm not a crook and nobody's ever going to question it, when they knew goddamn well he was. Nixon should have gone to prison for what he did. I thought that when I was a Republican, so... I honestly want to see Donald Trump pay for his crimes. And I think if we give him... Fuck ice! I think if we give him an out, backed by the threat of he's going to get what he deserves, and he has the option to take an out and say, oh, my health is too much for me, I have come down with this condition that allows me to be president no longer. He would take that. And I mean, history would probably remember what he did and why he was really removed. But history doesn't really remember doesn't really remember Richard Nixon as badly as it should. I mean, if you dig into the history, yeah, you know why Richard Nixon was removed. And you know that he was removed. He didn't just simply choose to resign out of an abundance of integrity. That man didn't have any fucking integrity. He was told, you resign, and you can, look, he was future endeavored. You can resign or be fired. And we promise not to actually indict you if you resign. That was the offer. The House does not actually need a reason to impeach Donald Trump. They don't actually need one. They can impeach him for crimes and misdemeanors. All they have to do is say, the president is guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors. All those in favor. They could have that vote in 5 minutes if they really wanted to. Would it be like, would people go, well, that's never been done that way before? Yes, they would. But the Constitution does not specify a framework for impeaching the president. It is a simple majority vote. We can just say, hey, we believe that the president has committed high crimes and misdemeanors. All those in favor? It is that simple. It can be more complicated. You can have all kinds of investigations and hearings and justifications and debate and argument, and you can do all of that, and we normally do. But if we just want him gone, we could have it done that. We could have the House do that in 5 minutes, and if the Senate is in session, as soon as the vote is taken in the House, it can go over to the Senate, and the President of the Senate can say, the House, we're going to table the current discussion The House has just had this vote. Do we want to take it up right now? Somebody can say, yes, we do. Are we agreed that we're taking this up right now? Absolutely. Okay. Here's the Senate bill to do the same thing the House bill does. You know, we're impeaching his ass. Articles of impeachment right here. Do we confirm and remove him? 2/3 majority say yes, he's done. It could be done in an afternoon. Give me just a second. The reason why the picture is doing so well is because I am on Wi-Fi. But the problem is, I'm stuck over in Operation Inflation's area. And that's fine because nobody's here. But I'm on Wi-Fi that doesn't exist if I move away from this spot. And if I use up too much bandwidth by moving around, they will decide I have used up too much bandwidth and my signal will just drop. Punishing me for using up too much Wi-Fi. Yeah, the city's been coming through fairly often and just removing everything over there. Like, they're like, oh, it's a homeless encampment over there. It's different people, they come and go. There are people who stay there overnight to keep an eye on ice. Okay, this blueberry bar is awesome. That actually might be part of the negotiation. Trump would never say he's defective in any way. That's fair. what they could do is tell him, we have the votes to impeach you right now. Somebody else will announce that you've been taken to Walter Reed, and not give details, and you just simply leave the scene. And if you ever try to send a letter to Congress saying you're fit to become president, before they take it up, they will take up articles of impeachment. You have the power to send a letter asserting your authority. But if you do, you'll just be impeached. If you say nothing, or limit your, post to social media, and never try to assert that you are ready to take up being president again, you can do whatever you want. That could be part of the negotiation. The point being, if the goal is just to get him gone, there's more than one way to do it. But the 25th Amendment doesn't make him gone. Impeachment does. If the threat of impeachment is there, and it's, a serious threat, you might make the 25th Amendment work to, convince him to go away. But really, if you want him gone, you've got to impeach him. We love TriMet! There goes the 40. Oh, we got 63 likes tonight. That's not bad. Especially for a Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday. Because this Tuesday has kind of been like a... Oh, we got another bus coming. Right away. We love our buses! That one's half empty. I realize that a bus is, an awful lot like a dishwasher. Running a dishwasher only half full of dishes still uses less water than washing them in the sink. So why do I still wash dishes in the sink sometimes? Because the dishwasher takes 2 hours. It trades time for water. I wonder how many passengers it actually takes for a bus to break even in terms of emissions with a car. Obviously, that only works if it's an apples-to-apples comparison, so it would have to be a gasoline-powered car of about the vintage of the bus. It might be one of those statistics that doesn't make sense in real life. I knew somebody who worked in one of the Twin Towers on 9/11. They didn't go home that day. But you know something? I met somebody else who worked in those towers. Not only did he go home, but he got out of the tower, picked up his cane, not too different from mine, and he walked back into the tower. A couple more times. And a good number of people made it home because he did. I won't forget the person I knew who was in the tower the day that it was struck. And I don't forgive the people who did it. But I will remember the guy I met. He wrote a book called Thunderdog. About that day and what he did that day, what he was able to do to help those people that he was able to help, because he didn't need to be able to see in those dark stairwells. There was no power. So he got out and he went back in and saved more people. I think that's a pretty respectable claim to fame. And I mean, he's been to all kinds of speaking engagements and whatnot, and he's probably made a pretty good living off of the fact that people will pay your way and your speaking fees to have you come and talk about it, and he has. So he's made a good living doing that, but I don't begrudge him that, because he saved lives that day. I actually have a couple other stories. I don't actually get to tell like blindness related stories very often, because so much else is going on. There's always too much. Be right back. I'm gonna go throw this away. Sorry, guys. I can tell my other blindness story if you guys are interested. Trump definitely has stocks in big oil. And he's also directly, the money from Venezuelan oil is going into an account in the Middle East that he, and as far as I know, only he has access to the money. He was very proud of the fact that he was controlling the money. See, these are why stuff like this is why I don't get to tell the other blindness stories. Is that there's so much of this shit going on. Flood the zone, flood the zone. Well, at one point, I was supposed to become a teacher of the blind. specifically, I was going to become a travel instructor. Most places refer to that as orientation and mobility instruction. How to get around with a cane, basically, and how to cross streets and not die. Because you have to learn how to do these things. And I was involved with an organization called the National Federation of the Blind. There are 2 of the organizations. There's a whole bunch of for the blind organizations, but there are 2 of the blind organizations in the United States. They both think the other is half-baked, and they're both about as American as apple pie. But the National Federation of the Blind likes to talk to parents about their kids learning to be blindly effective, effectively blind, one of those things. I'm not sure. Anyway, we like to talk to people about travel as a blind person. And the way we talk about travel to sighted people is, here's a blindfold, here's a cane, we're going for a walk. Just like that. And, they kind of fumble around a little bit with a cane, just getting a feel for it. It's like, oh, here's the chair, here's the table, okay, it's hard to know what's around me. And it's like, go ahead and feel around. Find stuff that you remember before you put on the blindfold. And, you kind of navigate out to a place where you can actually walk smoothly. And we teach you that when you're walking, you step forward, you're holding your cane something like this, and you put the cane down on the ground in front of you, and you'll sweep it to the left as you're stepping forward with your right foot, and you step forward with your left foot as you sweep to the right. I'm completely... And you guys are now asking yourself, did you do the dumbass thing where you forgot to plug in the battery? No. All right. So, we tell people once they get out to a place where they can walk in, kind of a straight line for a ways, we tell them, you hold your cane kind of like this, and you sweep it to the right as you step forward to the left foot, and as you step forward with your right foot, you sweep to the left. So you're kind of moving, alternating in step, back and forth. And so we step out into I'm at a hotel. A big hotel with like a conference area and, meeting rooms and, exhibit hall and all the things. It is a national convention state convention of the NFB of Colorado. And Colorado has a big state convention because we have a training center there, or they have a training center. I'm no longer affiliated. And I'm there because, I'm a student at that training center, and I'm, studying to be a teacher of the blind. So there's this woman there. She has an 8-year-old son. And she has been like the most helicoptery mom who ever helicoptered a mom. She was just totally... That kid could not do anything without her hovering over him. It was, ugh. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna go over and have a look at Antifa. I'll have to switch to Wi-Fi to do it, but so she's at this thing learning about blindness, and like I said, here's a blindfold, here's a cane, we're going for a walk. And she kind of fumbles around to get out of the meeting room we're in. And she gets out to the main corridor, and the travel instructor explains to her what she needs to do to walk in a straight line. Well, what she should be doing to walk. Just doesn't explain the whole straight line. So she's walking, and she said, as she starts walking down the corridor, is there a way to walk in a straight line? Now I, tagging along, being the guy who's gonna be a travel instructor, pipe up. Yeah, there is actually. And you're doing a pretty good job of it. The thing is, the tiles out here in the hallway are at an angle, like they are here. So if you're walking in a straight line from here, the cracks in the sidewalk are angled. Well, this hotel corridor had angled tiles. So she says, oh, okay, I see. So I shouldn't follow them then. No, just trust your cane and trust your ears. Okay. So she starts moving more smoothly in a straight line. And this hotel, the corridor kind of goes forward, and then it turns off to the left, and then it turns and goes back forward again. So it kind of zigzags. And in the middle of the first zig is a piano that they've kind of cordoned off at a good distance because, oh my God, a bunch of blind people might be hitting this piano, which is a really expensive piano, with their canes. And some of them maybe a little roughly because they're not very good at traveling because they haven't been doing it very long or they haven't gotten good instruction. So they cordon off the piano. So we're walking down, we get to the first zig, and she stops. This is where the piano is. And I pipe up, yes it is. It sounds more open off to the left now. Yes it does. I never knew blind people could tell these things. How that woman was going to raise her child changed that day right then. She was such a helicopter mother because she didn't think her son was capable of functioning without seeing. And suddenly, she knows after just walking a few steps, maybe 20 feet down a freaking hallway, where it turns, that the hallway turns because it sounds more open. And the piano is up ahead of her. And, she moves forward. She finds the little rope around the piano. Okay, that's where that is. So the piano's right there. Okay. We turn and make that first zig. It's not super hearing. She was sighted. It's just that she was listening for the first time with her ears because she couldn't use her eyes. We turned and we followed that zig. And then it opens up to the right. It's more open to the right now, so that's the zag. We don't zag. We go forward and we find some doors that lead outside of the hotel into the parking lot. We went outside. And we kind of muddled through the parking lot a little bit, going around the cars, and went out to the sidewalk. We walked down the sidewalk to the corner. Now, our travel instructor says, "What do you hear?" She said, "Well, there's cars running back and forth this way, and there's cars going this way, but none coming back this way. Is this the corner where there was construction?" Yes, it is. She recognized that the corner that we were at, she hadn't quite completely oriented herself, but she knew that there was a corner near the freeway where they were doing work on the freeway on-ramp, and it had closed an entire direction of one of the cross streets. So she figured out where we were. And there was a lighted intersection, and she listened, and, she got to understand these are the patterns. There's a surge of traffic going one direction, and there's a surge in the other direction, and then there's, left turn times. She heard that. And then we turned around and went back inside because we were running out of time. We went back inside. I said to her, if we had 20 minutes longer, you'd have crossed that street today. She said, if we had 20 minutes more, I think I could have. I've got like 3 freaking stories about being a blind person, and that is one of them. And honestly, it's the coolest one. Now, I don't know what happened to that kid, but I know that for the rest of the weekend, for the first time ever, his mom let him be an 8-year-old boy doing his thing, knowing that he was safe with the blind adults who were, managing the kids' activities. She let him explore the hotel. She let him play with the other kids without her having to be there to make sure he was okay. He went off and did art projects. He went and colored pictures. He's totally blind. How do you color a picture? Somebody was kind enough to take a hot glue gun to the coloring book page and put a line of glue on top of all the lines. That's how a blind person colors a coloring book page. He was off, playing with blocks and cars and all the things that 8-year-old boys do. And I saw him once, with his cane, kind of running down the hallway, and all that happened was another adult who was kind of managing the kids, blind as any of them, was, kids, remember, we don't run in the hallway, and they slowed down like any other kid. I am damn proud of the fact that I helped make sure that kid got a chance to be a kid and grow up to be an independent adult. I don't know what happened to him, but I know he had that chance because I helped. And maybe the instructor would have done his best to do the same thing I did if I hadn't been there, but I was there and I was the one who did it. So there we go. That's my story about being blind. Shall we go have a look at the tree? I said we'd do that. I very much have to take the whole tripod because The phone has 12% battery. You folks are doing a good job of keeping an eye on those ice holes, aren't you? Actually, I was just coming over here to take a tree.
I love this tree.
Blooming nicely. The chair is still here. It still is suggesting we would like them to leave. So have they come through again and screwed up the memorial? Have they come through and like fucked with the memorial again?
Yeah, the last 3 nights.
In a row?
Yeah. We just keep rebuilding it.
Good.
We're gonna,
And fuck them for doing it.
stick around and watch it again tonight.
We have some water here.
No, I'm good. I brought Coke Zero tonight.
Yay, well, you know, yay, that's my favorite, but supposed to be boycotting it.
So is it Chuds that come and fuck with it or the city?
The Chuds.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck them.
Well, it backfired on them. It brought us together. It brought us together even stronger. Now look at it.
Yeah.
We didn't even plan on doing it. And now we look like,
So I'd like to show the rest of the what you guys have done here, but
yeah.
I would like to make sure that I check that everybody's okay because faces. I always ask down here and over there.
Yeah, I know. You're fine. I'm asking for my
Thank you for asking.
I always do when I come down here because people might be like eating or otherwise not have faces covered down here and over by when the costume booth is set up. So I figure if they're over there or if they're over there, they kind of know that there's likely to be several cameras on them at any given time. So we got some respect for pride here and some respect for indigenous people. Some disrespect for ice holes. So the Chuds keep coming down here.
There's one that lives close by. And we put a camera up and caught him.
Oh, who was it?
The guy with the dog. Rick.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting because he came over and talked to me. I pet the dog. He was at least polite to the guy with the camera.
Yeah, no, I've had polite conversations with them.
But if he got a camera and caught him,
two-sided or whatever.
if you caught him like fucking with the,
Probably beat his dog a few times.
Did you see the video last night? Come the fuck here.
Okay.
Abuser? What the fuck?
Yeah, we were here. You look like. Do you know who Shortcake is?
Hey, Rick,
We were in the middle of it.
treat that dog well, damn it.
The same dude also
you're-
got footage.
if you're gonna-
actually beating her dog.
If you're gonna fuck with people down here, that's one thing,
Walking around.
because they can fuck with you right back, but leave your fucking dog alone. Jeez.
What do you think?
Transit use only. Eh.
My niece is really good fancy dancer and legal dancers. And my daughter does that cocktail special. So, have you seen it? When I first saw the white swan, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Well, I don't want to leave the
There you go.
I don't want to leave the taco truck unattended because something might happen to it. So, thanks, guys.
Well, yeah, that's why.
I go through all of the sidewalk, but I do the sidewalk often, and like I said, I do want to get back over to the taco truck and my chairs, because I've had stuff stolen before. And I don't get enough in donations to replace shit that gets stolen, so. I've already got to come up with $120 to replace my respirator. I'll do it, but I think somebody left this as a water dish for a dog, but they left it, which means that it is. I didn't realize that there was anything in it until I picked it up, but they're leaving it out. People can say we are littering. So I'm not going to allow that. I will clean up the area. I'm sure it was left just because it was sitting behind one of my chairs. So anyway, at least for people who are, behaved well, the chairs do say return to the taco truck. Holy shit, did I not lose my Wi-Fi for that? Did the video go to shit or anything? I forgot to switch to Wi-Fi, or switch to cellular. So I was on Wi-Fi for that whole trip. I would have expected that to disconnect. Especially on a night like this. Well, I guess it's not currently raining. Not usually, because for one thing, I'm not using the cane to provide any balance, and I mean literally this cane. It telescopes and it is collapsible. I have a folding cane that's stronger, and if there's a crowd I will prefer to use it, but my shoulder is such a mess I try not to. I do have it. It is useful if, like what happened before, that I need to hold somebody back at a distance for my safety. But the other chair. important thing. This is more important than the chairs. Yeah, so this is what a quiet night is like out here at the ice building. You got a few people down at the base camp, and you know, maybe a couple of people over here. But now that Sandy and her friend, who I do not know his name, have gone home, I'm over here at Operation Inflation. That's fine though. Being quiet here allowed us to have a political. So I'm still undecided. You guys didn't help me decide. Still undecided as to whether or not we actually should be trying to just erase what Trump and his people have done like that. And, you know, just obliterating the Republican Party. It's dangerous as hell. Because I don't want a Democrat, especially like a fucking Gavin Newsom, to become a dictator. Apparently, Operation Inflation was here Saturday. I was not, but they were. I miss the inflatables too. I wonder if Jordy is thinking that it's a tactic that has served its purpose and it's time to move on. I don't know. I'd like to ask him. So I hope to see him this weekend. Because I'd like to know what they're thinking about it. If they're just not coming out here because there just aren't people to make it worthwhile, or, you know, if they're still just dealing with shit, or, I mean, did a judge in Lacey's case say, hey, she's not allowed out here, so it's been kind of, that's it? I have no idea. It might be that. It is hard to maintain something like this long term. I mean, you got people who will do it forever if they need to. But like, I didn't even see Freya tonight. I didn't see Freya tonight. Now maybe Freya was down there, or maybe Freya was here before I got here and left. But Freya's always here, you know? I know Rexy said, that they would like to take some time off. And people are accusing them of being a clout chaser. But is that really a true accusation from like our people? Or is that MAGA suggesting that people are saying that Rexy's a clout chaser? And that's causing discord? There's a lot. Looking at the comments on Pam's video, there are a lot of MAGA trying to stir shit. It's one of the reasons why I've basically empowered my mods to just shut them all the fuck up if they come in here. Because they can, they will, they have, and they do try and just see if they can divide people. Or if they can trigger people into saying something that'll get them kicked off of whatever platform they're on. There's one video on Jordy's channel from 8 months ago. Yes. But apparently they did a live stream that they didn't make public. after it was streamed. Well, folks, it is like 10:30 here. And we're getting on toward it. And I only stay until 10 usually. But, you know, we got to tell a story about being blind. We got to go check out the tree. I just hope he's okay, and I hope that Lacey is okay. I don't mind saying who they are because people know who they are. I haven't seen Uni. And when I sent a message to Uni, she didn't answer it, so I hope she's all right. Man, a bunch of people have disappeared, and I don't know if they're okay or not, and I worry about my friends. Wrong way! Oh. Garage! Yep. Good night, Laura. Glad to have you here tonight. No skate bear. We used to have a dragon on a one wheel. That was fucking awesome. Red-eyed dragon just driving down the road. No yellow hat. No bike dude tonight. It's been really quiet. I miss people. But anyway, I'm going to call it a night. And I will, I guess I will see you guys on Friday. That's when I will next be out. Oh no, tomorrow is... I don't know if I'm going to do Earth Day. I promised my fiance that I will give her 2 nights a week. And she's sick now with what I had. So... I don't know if I'll be out here tomorrow. It is Earth Day, and I think it'll be pretty cool to be out here, but I don't know. Maybe I will come by for a little bit and not stream. That seems like... And there was the guy who speeds. There was nobody in his way, but he still drove like a bat out of hell. Thank you guys for being here. Got up to 68 likes tonight. That's not bad for an off night stream. And, you know, Mondays and Tuesdays are off nights currently. So I definitely appreciate it. We are planning tacos for Cinco de Mayo. We're working on it. I've been talking with Burrito Ferry, and we're going to see what we can come up with for that. And in the meantime, I need to buy a new respirator because May Day is first. And I expect I need to be prepared for gas on May Day. So... gonna need to buy a respirator. Anyway, that'll do it for me tonight. I'm Joseph. Have a good night, everybody. And don't forget to have another taco. Especially because Cinco de Mayo's coming up. Good night, everybody.